Dracarys.
They called her the Stormborn, the silver-haired girl with dragons. Hatched in flame, but in the red city of Astapor, beside the foul waters of Slaver's Bay, Daenerys Targaryen ceased to be merely a girl. She became a queen in truth, not by inheritance, nor marriage, nor council's decree, but by fire, by steel, and by choice. Long before the Unsullied marched beneath her banner, Daenerys had known chains, though they had not always been made of iron. She had worn her brother's pride like a collar, bartered as a bride to savage men across the sea, paraded before nobles who smiled with teeth bared like wolves. Her blood was royal. Her Targaryen name was old and storied. But in the alleys of Pentos, on the decks of salt-worn ships, and in the khalasar of Khal Drogo, the name meant little. She had survived betrayals, Earth's deaths, and the sting of her own mercy, and yet none of those trials prepared her for Astapor. Astapor red-walled, red-hearted, red-handed, a city built on bones, where the cries of infants had once echoed between stone pillars, silenced by whips. Here, flesh was currency and pain was profit. The masters walked in silk and scented oils. The slaves walked in blood and silence. The Unsullied were their masterpiece, one of the most disciplined armies the world had ever known. Trained from childhood, broken from the moment of memory, castrated and renamed Unsullied by the masters. For the day they were bought, as if purity were the prize of suffering, they felt no pain. They knew no fear. They obeyed without hesitation. And Daenerys, in the guise of a foreign queen in need of soldiers, came to buy them. But her heart waged war against her mind. Could she use these men, these children carved into weapons, without becoming a master herself? Could she pay for peace with chains? Krasny's Monakloz, the slaver prince of Astapor, believed her naive. He saw a soft girl draped in silk, speaking only through translators. He mocked her in Valyrian, thinking her ignorant of his tongue, calling her a whore, a child, a foolish foreigner. He bartered eagerly for a dragon, blind to the predator beneath her calm eyes. She would give him Drogon, he thought, and in return, he would sell her the Unsullied 8,700 of them, along with the boys still in training. And she agreed. She offered him a whip, the slaver's symbol of ownership. With it came the obedience of an army. But when she wrapped her fingers around the handle of that whip, Daenerys was not seizing power. She was testing its weight, as one tests the heft of a sword. She did not intend to wield it. She intended to destroy it. The books tell it with quiet precision. The moment she took the whip, she turned to the Unsullied and gave her first command in High Valyrian. Unsullied, slay the masters. Slay every man who holds a whip, but harm no child. Strike no one in chains. Krasnys gasped. Only then did he understand she had known his every insult, every whispered barb, and now she would answer.
Dracarys.
Drogon lifted his head and screamed. Flame poured from his throat, white-hot and righteous. Krasnys became ash before he could beg. The Unsullied did not hesitate. They moved with the silence of a storm. Gates shattered. Whips cracked and fell, forgotten. Red walls ran with the blood of their makers. And Daenerys stood still, watching. What did she feel in that moment? Triumph? Rage? A justice too long denied? Or was it something older, something deeper? Perhaps it was the echo of Valyria, the blood of dragon lords who had ruled by fire alone. Perhaps it was vengeance, not only for the slaves, but for her mother who died in labor, for Rhaegar burned on the trident, for Viserys who perished chasing a crown. Perhaps, for the first time, she saw herself clearly, not the beggar queen, not the wandering exile, not the lost girl, but the fire, the storm, the breaker of chains. After the battle, Astapor fell still. No bells tolled, no horns blew. Only the wind through ruined streets and the hiss of water striking scorched stone. She walked among the Unsullied, 8,000 men, silent and still. They did not cheer. They did not speak. She released them. She told them they were free men now, no longer bound by the whip nor by her will. They could go, find lives, forget war. No vengeance would pursue them. And still, they stood. until one stepped forward small, lean, a scar on his cheek from the time he had bitten out his own nipple to prove he felt no pain. He said his name was Grey Worm, the name the masters had given him on the day he was purchased. She asked why he kept such a name, and he answered, because it was the name he bore the day Daenerys Stormborn freed him. They would follow her, these men, not because of gold, not because of fear, but because she had given them choice and in so doing, given them something far more powerful than orders. She had given them purpose. In the show, we saw it through fire and music and slow motion battle. A sweeping act of vengeance captured in a single word, Dracarys. But in the books, George R.R. Martin gave us more. He gave us her thoughts. She thought of her brother Viserys, how he would have delighted in the slaughter. She thought of Drogo, who would have taken the city in blood and called it honor. But Daenerys thought of the children, the ones who had been stolen, mutilated, silenced. She thought of the old woman who whispered, Mysa, in the tongue of the Riverlands, Mother. And for the first time, Daenerys wondered if a Targaryen could be more than fire. Could a dragon be a mother? But the fire had been lit, and it would not go out. Astapor was a beginning, not of conquest, but of belief. She had no fleet, no allies, only freedmen and fire, but they marched just the same, and the world began to notice. In the halls of Yunkai, merchants whispered her name with unease. In the pyramids of Meereen, masters clutched their children tighter. Across the narrow sea in Westeros, old lords heard rumors of a silver queen with dragons and laughed. She was a shadow, a girl, a myth. But they did not see Astapor. They did not see the fire consume the whip. Fans would later debate what happened that day. Some called it her first taste of tyranny, arguing she would never again stop where mercy demanded. Others saw in her a messiah, one who would burn the chains of every master in the world. On Reddit, on forums, in videos, the question was asked again and again. Was this justice, or the birth of a tyrant? The truth, as it often is in Martin's world, lies in the gray. Daenerys did not kill for pleasure. She did not command death for power alone. But she was not gentle, and she would never be tame. She was born of blood and fire. And in fire, she had learned her greatest lesson, that sometimes, to shatter the old world, one must burn it to ash. So she left Astapor with dragons at her side and a new army at her back. The Unsullied had once been slaves. Now they were brothers, free men, soldiers of a queen who had asked for loyalty, not obedience. She walked at their head, not on a palanquin, not carried like a goddess. She walked, step by step, in the dust and the heat, because that was what leaders did. That was what mothers did. That was what queens did. And far behind her, the fires of Astapor smoldered still. A warning, a promise, a beginning. Dracarys, the world had heard it, and the world would not forget.